Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be exploring watercolor. Watercolor is a pigment dissolved in water and bound by a colloid agent like gum arabic. It is applied with a brush on fabric, vellum, or more typically dampened paper. After the water has evaporated, the color is transparent. Initially, artists used to ground their own colors from natural pigments, but in 1870, William Reeves invented small hard cakes of soluble watercolor that artists could use. In the beginning of the 1830s, artists could buy watercolor in porcelain pans. In 1846, there was a great advance in watercolor. Winsor & Newton, a paint company, introduced watercolors in metal tubes, inspired by tube oil paint. Scrapers, sandpaper, penknives, brush handles, or fingernails were used to remove dry or wet color from the surface of the paper to create highlights. Sponges, brushes, breadcrumbs, or bits of paper were used to blot watercolor washes and soften their intensity. Wove paper was made in the 18th century, laying the foundation for future technical advances in watercolor painting. Unlike wove paper, earlier papers caused wet watercolor washes to pool, hindering the artist's ability. By 1850, the leading manufacturer, Whatman, offered papers with three distinct surfaces, from least to most textured. Hot press paper was suited to detailed subjects, not hot press paper was suited to less precise work, and cold press paper was suited to more sketchy effects. A fourth option, Griffin Antiquarian, produced in conjunction with Winsor & Newton, offered a very large sheet of very strong paper. The technique of water-based painting dates to ancient times and belongs to the history of many cultures in the world. In the West, European artists used watercolor to decorate illuminated manuscripts and to color maps in the Middle Ages, and to make studies from nature and portrait miniatures during the Renaissance. Today, the medium is most commonly associated with Britain during the period extending roughly from the mid-18th to the mid-19th century, the so-called golden age of watercolor. Watercolor is definitely one of the hardest mediums I've used. Because it's water-based, it moves around a lot after you've put it down on paper, but it's easier to control the intensity of the color. As you may have seen, I used tissue paper to absorb the color in the background and when the color was a bit too bright or dark. But overall, this painting was really fun, and watercolor is a really fun medium to try out. I did follow a tutorial for this painting, which will be linked in the description, and I hope you like the rest of the video. Thank you for watching.